What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about the Xfinity race at Darlington yesterday and why it pretty much proves a lot of the things that I said before right, and what's wrong with NASCAR can be seen in yesterday's race. So going in to yesterday's race, we had a great story. Okay, that was Ross Chastain, a guy who uh, has been around a little bit. He's got some seat time in NASCAR for a while, but he's considered still kind of a rookie, I guess, by some people. But he's got experience. He's been in the sport, but he's always been in really crappy equipment, right? And this happens to a lot of guys. And I've always said that there's a lot of good, talented people who just don't have the chance because they don't have a good ride or a good organization behind them. And a lot of the guys that are on top of the sport and dominate every week, yes, they're talented, but a big part of the success is due to the fact that they are in top level equipment and they have the best opportunities. So you can't have really one without the other. It really goes hand in hand. If you're going to be a success in NASCAR, you do have to have some luck on your side, and you do have to have really good equipment. And no matter, even Kyle Busch or any of the top drivers, they're going to struggle when they are not in top level equipment every week. So the things that I've been talking about in terms of NASCAR and why it's really in a downward spiral and failing and really struggling, a lot of it has to do with the lower series, which I've talked about, and the fact that NASCAR continues to allow Cup drivers to come in and stink up the show. And I've said it before, people are not going to be entertained by watching Cup drivers dominate these races. That's already been proven. But then there's an even worse aspect, which exposed itself in yesterday's race. You have Kevin Harvick, a great driver, but in my opinion, is a douchebag. And I said this before. I made a video about it a while back, and people lost their minds. They got really upset. I had people telling me, man, I really loved your videos until this. I'm unsubscribed. I'm done, because they didn't like my opinion. And I suspect the same thing's going to happen now. But the good thing about not being somebody who monetizes videos, I've never asked for subscribers, and this is why. Because as quickly as somebody will subscribe to you and they'll love your content, the moment you say something that they disagree with, all of a sudden now, I'm done with you, I'm gone. And if that's the case, don't let the door hit you on the way out. But Kevin Harvick is a fucking douchebag. I can't stand this fucking guy. And he represents a lot of the things I don't like about a lot of these drivers. He's a great, talented driver, which is another thing people like to build straw man arguments and create arguments that really were not being made. I never said guys like Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, or Keselowski, any of these guys. I never said anything about their talent. It's obviously they're great drivers. It's obvious that they are great drivers, I should say. This has nothing to do with them, with their talent. It has to do with their arrogance. With the fact that they think that everything revolves around them. That everyone shows up for them. That anyone who they would consider beneath them, maybe somebody who doesn't have the same name recognition or hasn't had the opportunity to drive the same equipment these guys have driven is somehow beneath them and they're really only there as field fillers. This attitude that permeates NASCAR is a problem. And it all reared its ugly head yesterday. You had what was going in a great story. Ross Chastain, an underdog type of guy who's been struggling for a long time, driving crappy equipment, finally gets an opportunity and gets into a car that was definitely capable of winning and competing. And that's really all you can ask for as a driver, no matter who you are. You want that opportunity. And when you get that opportunity, you have to make the most of it. You can't really just loaf around playing it safe. So he wins the pole. He starts out up front, and he really pretty much controls the race throughout the first two stages. But even though he was in control, he never really ran away with it. It was very competitive. You had several guys on his heels the entire time. So not only did he prove that he can drive if he had the opportunity and good equipment, but he was also constantly pressured. He was under a lot of pressure on restarts. He restarted on the outside, the inside. No matter what, he found a way to get up front. So he really showcased his talent and his ability, and he got an opportunity. He's an underdog. It was a great story, and he was actually living up or helping the race live up to the story that was unfolding in front of us. Even the commentators were constantly talking about what was going on because even they understood. Junior, Jeff Burton, and Dale Jarrett, they understood what was happening, and it was a great story. It's the type of thing that NASCAR needs more of, and things were really looking really good. It felt like almost, I wouldn't say this the same thing, but in a way, like watching a no-hitter, and you reach the 6th inning and the 7th inning, and now that excitement starts to build, and now you're like, okay, now I'm paying attention. I'm not flipping channels anymore. This guy has a no-hitter going. It's in the 6th, 7th inning. How's this going to work out? And that's how I felt watching this. And it was really great. And there was a lot of good. The top 3, 4 cars were really battling the entire way. It was not only a good race in terms of the story that was building, but the race itself was very entertaining. It was very competitive. And then the inevitable happened. You had a Cup driver who felt like, okay, I'm the big shot from the Cup Series. It's time. Everybody step aside. It's my time to come in and take over. Because that's what Cup drivers feel like when they race in these lower series. They're not there for points, so they don't have to play it safe. They have nothing to lose. It's a win or nothing. It's an all or nothing proposition. So he decides, okay, I'm tired of not being able to pass. You know, he tried a couple times, and Chastain fought him off. So he saw a chance when they were in lap traffic. Now, anyone who knows anything about Darlington understands that Darlington is not a multi-groove track. Not really. You can barely race side by side. You really can't. The guy on the bottom, whenever they hit the corner, they're at a real disadvantage, and you rarely see a car make passes on the bottom. Only if he has a really good run and his car is much better than the guy he's passing. That's the only time, really. it's very dangerous, and it's, you know, your passes are mostly going to happen on the top. So people that really follow NASCAR and understand Darlington, that they understand this is how this track works. It's got its own personality. And you would think that a guy like Kevin Harvick, who is a great race car driver and has a ton of experience, would understand that maybe dive bombing and making it 3 wide into the corner would be a bad idea. So he decides he's going to do it because he just got impatient and he's arrogant, and he felt like, well, if I make it 3 wide, Ross Chastain is going to have no choice but to back out. There's no way he's going to try to actually race me hard and maintain his position. He's just going to back out because I'm Kevin Harvick. Even though I'm making an incredibly boneheaded move and dive bombing 3 wide in Darlington. And when Ross Chastain decided, no, I have every right to race hard just like everyone else. I'm not just going to give up the spot because you decided to make it 3 wide. He decides to race, and they make contact. Harvick gets up into him. I don't think he did it on purpose, but when you make a boneheaded move like dive bombing in there and you're 3 wide, how else is this going to turn out? So he got into Ross. And Ross, after he got run into, he ran Harvick and spun him out. And good for him. I was so happy to see that, but at that moment, the race went from a very exciting and really great story and really good, hard, exciting racing to a fucking disaster. And from that point forward, the race was over, really, pretty much. Keselowski ends up, another Cup driver, ends up pretty much dominating and winning the race. And the race went from really a real high level of excitement to just another Xfinity race where a Cup driver won the race, and it was really awful. It was an awful, disappointing way for that race to turn out. And NASCAR, I've been saying this for a long time, you gotta get rid of these fucking Cup drivers. If you're a Cup driver, stay in the fucking Cup Series. They don't make the Xfinity races better. They make them worse. How many more of these races do you have to see to realize that? If you want the sport to grow, it's important that the lower series have their own guys shine. So, to make matters worse, okay, the race ended the way it did. The great story of Ross Chastain competing and possibly for a win, and giving people a chance to see that, you know what, I can drive if you give me a chance in a really good car. The story goes sour because, of course, Kevin Harvick decides, one, he stops off at Chastain's pit because he's a tough guy. Remember that. This guy is all his entire career getting in people's faces. And for the life of me, I don't understand how someone hasn't punched his face just once. Just knocked him on his ass. Why do these guys allow this guy to do that? He stops, he says what he has to say because he's Kevin Harvick. Then later on, they interview him after he's out of the car and out of whatever care center or wherever it was he had to go. And of course, he took the opportunity to be a fucking douchebag, because that's what he is. That's my opinion. That's what I think of him. I think he's a fucking douchebag. In fact, most of these Cup drivers who are always racing in the Xfinity races, they're kind of they all share that same douchebaggy arrogance, because that's, they just think the show's about them. So he decides, I'm going to take the opportunity to badmouth Ross Chastain, and the first thing he said was that he's an inexperienced guy in a good car, in a fast car. But the guy who pulled off the inexperienced move was Harvick. He's the one that dive bombed and made it 3 wide at Darlington. That's the inexperienced move. You can't run the apron at Darlington. Now, I'm not sure if he was exactly on the apron, but he was damn sure at least partly on it. But no, it's Kevin Harvick, so he's out there to tell you that Ross Chastain is inexperienced, and that's probably why he's not going to get another opportunity in a top ride. Those weren't his words exactly. I don't remember exactly how he put it, but that's pretty much what he said. So what he's doing as an influential top-level Cup driver is to send a message to other owners. Don't give this guy another chance, because look what happened. This is what happens. So it wasn't enough that he ruined the opportunity for this guy to really make a name for himself, because these guys all forget where they came from. He forgot when he first started out how he was trying to make a name for himself and just get that opportunity. That's all these guys want, is give me a fucking chance, put me in a car that can actually win, let me show what I can do. That's all they want. But that's where the similarities end. You got guys like Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, those guys who are just like, they forget where they came from, and they don't see this as, you know what, maybe, I'll race the guy hard. I'm not saying he shouldn't have raced him hard, but there was a lot of racing left, and he pulled a move that there's no fucking way anybody could justify it. And he has the nerve to say Ross Chastain is the guy with the inexperience, and then he throws him under the bus, and then he kind of sends that message out. That's why he shouldn't get an opportunity. Basically what he's saying. I hate these guys. I fucking hate these guys. I don't like arrogant fucking people. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people who hate this video and that. And, oh, I'm unsubscribing. I used to like your videos. Fuck you. This guy's a hater. Oh, they're going to call me a hater. I forgot. That's the go-to label. He's a fucking arrogant douchebag. And I fucking hate guys like that. They have no business in these lower series. Stay in the fucking Cup Series. Let these guys have their moment in the sun. And he ruined it for this guy. I hope that Ganassi, kudos to Chip Ganassi, by the way, for putting this guy in the car. Because we could have had Kyle Larson in the car this weekend, and it would have been another non-story. But he gave this guy a chance. And I hope he gives him more opportunities. That race could have been something special. Even if he didn't win, he would have definitely ended up in the top 3 or something like that. It still would have been a great story. And kudos, by the way, to Dale Jarrett, who openly criticized Harvick, and he fucking called him out. And he called him out, and he was he didn't go over the top with it, but you could hear the message there. And he's a fucking respected driver, and he knew what was going on, and that was fucked up. But I assume Kevin Harvick fans are going to defend him. They're going to blame Chastain. Those are my opinions. That's how I feel. This is what's wrong with NASCAR, and this really just confirms the stuff I've been talking about. And if NASCAR doesn't do something about this, it's just going to get worse. You're going to continue to get empty seats. So, I don't know what else to say. What do you guys think? I look forward to your comments, and I expect the same reaction from the last time. But this only really confirms how I feel, you know, what I've been saying about these guys. So it is what it is. Until there's something else to talk about, I'll see you guys around.